Okay, so this is kind of a impromptu recording that I felt compelled and driven to make. I'm not sure how it's going to go because it's not even really a complete thought right now. It is a culmination of my life's philosophy being suddenly drawn to a focus on a specific subject. And it's not an unfamiliar subject. I've talked about these things in the past in numerous other recordings, but it's definitely been on the forefront of my mind, especially with my own personal path, where I am right now, where I'm trying to go, and some of the issues that I am personally dealing with in pursuing that path, and how it all kind of ties together. It's times like these that give my life scope, give my purpose scope. I've talked before that it's from a standpoint of focus. Humans have a very limited capacity for what they can absorb at any one time. So when I'm saying that I'm having a certain amount of clarity and this perception of scope, it's the ability to look at my potential, my drive, in a new perspective that allows me to see more of it as a whole, whereas I really only get to see fragments of this in my life based on what I'm going through, the experiences that I'm being exposed to. So what this has really kind of come to today is really a call to action, one for myself and for others like me. And when I say that, I've always considered myself a watcher. I've observed life in order to understand, and I felt like that was my purpose. And right now, on Friday, June 8th at 10:22 a.m. 2018, I'm 46 years old, and for the last several years I have been building a body of work with the intent being that I want to influence people. I want to help people understand who they are, what they are. Now, I've struggled over the years with the implications. You know, what does that mean? What does that mean for me? And in the simplest terms, what I can say is I consider myself a visionary. I have the ability to see things in a different manner than most, and there's days like today where there's a certain clarity that I just don't think is present in our reality right now. And when I talk about this scope, the scope of a visionary. Visionaries have been around for as long as humanity has been around. Visionaries come to help guide humanity through circumstances. Now, circumstances are always evolving, they're always changing, so visionaries will constantly be coming through the history of humanity to help bring clarity and understanding to the times at hand. And they can take a lot of different roles. They could be spiritual, religious, scientific, artistic. There are no limits. The simple truth about a visionary is just the ability to see something in a way that is unique. And it's that unique perspective that allows for a conveyance to others that maybe don't see in the same perspective. To be able to understand, to observe and understand what's going on around them. And human existence is an absolutely amazing experience. But it's complex, and it is confusing, and it's all part of the beauty of the design. But periodically, as cycles change, which is, it's natural. I mean, that's just how things work. This reality, this planet runs on cycles. And the presence of visionaries, I don't know what would be the best way to phrase that. The appearance of visionaries throughout time have come during specific points in these cycles when humanity needs them the most. We're stuck in a rut right now, and I see several different reasons for that. One, it's part of this cycle, and part of this cycle really depends on a transition from one state to the next, one phase to another, and there are more visionaries on this planet right now than I think ever in the history of humanity. And some of them are having an impact. Some of them are still struggling to find their place. Myself. How can you best impact without causing problems, without creating destruction? It's a turbulent process, can be. As a natural part of these cycles, there is an ending and a beginning. And that transition, if not monitored and persuaded, I tried to avoid to use manipulated, but that might be the actual best word for that. As I've said before, our language doesn't really grasp the complexity of what's going on, so there's certain limitations because you have to choose language that conveys information, conveys wisdom, but it's still subject to interpretation, and things get lost in the transition. So that's why I'm struggling just a little bit, because I'm trying to be very purposeful with my language. But the bottom line is we're in a transitional period, and it's causing stress, it's causing anxiety, it's causing fear, hostility, violence, and again, it's a natural part of the process. But there are people here. There are, like I said, visionaries here on this planet, people that are alive right now that have this understanding of what's going on. They have these ideas, these philosophies, but they don't quite understand them or what to do with them, because they are counter to everything that we know or believe in to this point. And I don't really want to say counter, they're just not quite the same. And it's really comes down to the need to purge old mindsets, old religions, old belief systems, whether they're philosophical, psychological, religious, scientific, choose your word. They're all outdated. They don't meet the needs of this evolution into this next phase. And when I say that this is a call to action, it's the people out there need to that have this unique perception and perspective need to find the confidence to step forward and start presenting that. And the scary part of that is it is frightening. It is frightening to step forward, because you're proposing, or you're expressing a view, a vision of something that it is possible that you are the only one that can see it. That doesn't mean that it's not valid. And it's these unique perspectives that are going to help guide this transition in a more peaceful way. It has the potential to be extremely violent, as transitions sometimes do. And the bad thing is it's going to go whether you're prepared for it or not. The transition is going to happen. Cycles happen. You may sit there all day long on a sunny day and say, I do not want the sun to set. But the sun is going to set. That is part of this cycle. It's part of this process. Now, can that process be changed? In theory, yes. And anything is subject to influence and has the ability to be manipulated. But that's not the point of this right now. The point is we are subject to these cycles. We are subject to these patterns. And the more people that can present a vision of what they see to help aid this process in and take some of the turbulence out of that, the easier it's going to be for everyone else. And the driving motivation for this today is we're seeing spikes in mass shootings. We're seeing spikes in suicide. And the reason this comes out, and if you didn't pick up on the date and it doesn't correlate somewhere in the timeline, another celebrity suicide overnight. And not that celebrity lives have more value than anyone else's, but it brings it into the forefront. It brings it into the mainstream and draws everybody's attention to it. So, according to reports, and you can look it up, since 1999, and I've seen conflicting reports on this, but 25 to 30% increase in suicide rates in the last 20 years. And part of it is that as this process is going, the human mind is being taxed, it's being stressed. And in the past, visionaries have brought forth beneficial ideologies that have helped give people faith. And really what we're experiencing is a loss of faith. It's a loss of hope. And as much as I am anti-religion, religions were originally founded by visionaries to bring hope. They were rooted in good intentions. They've been misguided and abused over the years to become a system of control. And that wasn't the intent. The bad thing is that they've taken such a hold on the mentality of humanity that there are some people that can't let go, and there are some people that just don't find any benefit in them. And I'm not saying we need new religions. I think what I'm trying to say is we've outgrown the need for religions. But we still need that perspective of the visionaries to give humanity hope. And I mean, there's huge debates now. How can we stop gun violence? How can we stop mass shootings? How can we stop wars? How can we prevent all these suicides? And it really boils down into we need more hope. We need more people to come forward and provide a view of things that provides perspective, that provides guidance. And we really need to cut ties with these outdated mindsets. And I'm saying that from a scientific standpoint, from a philosophical standpoint, we need more people to have faith in themselves and step forward and present what they see. Because in this system that we are engaged in, there is not a one-size-fits-all answer to everything. I have often said that there is no truth. There's only opinion. And I've been saying that since I was 20. And I've had people question me on it and say, no, you know what, that's false, that's inaccurate, because and it's usually religious people, and they will usually hold up the Bible and say, well, this is truth. It's not truth. It's beneficial to those who need it. It's inspiring if you look to be inspired. But you can look at anything from a certain perspective and make it whatever you want. Bottom line is, your reality is what you make of it. But there are things out there, there are things around that offer inspiration, that offer hope. And that's what we need right now. We need as much of that as we can get, because it is a struggle, and I struggle with these things, and I keep getting drawn into the psychological aspect of it. Psychology being part of the medical field, and the medical field being inadequate, in my opinion. It doesn't seek to remedy, to cure. It just seeks to treat. And that's, people have been saying that for years and years and years, and there's even more people saying it now. Because it has become a business, and I think business is fantastic, but business can become self-motivating, and lose sight of its vision. Any business out there was created by somebody with a vision of something that they felt would be useful. Otherwise, it wouldn't make money. If it wasn't useful, you wouldn't be able to sell it. It wouldn't have any value. You wouldn't be able to make money off it. But it gets lost in the money. And some things, I mean, I'm sure once a niche is identified and a value is established, have been created solely for revenue generation without any higher purpose. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about today. And this is kind of gone all over the map here for me, but again, I keep coming back to psychology and how little we understand about the human experience. And I attribute that to the lack of visionaries that understand the dynamics of the human mind. And I think there's probably people out there right now that have this intense vision, probably are suffering just as much or more than other people out there, but have a really strong understanding of the current state of human mind evolution, or I couldn't think of any other term. But in the process of human evolution, there's always going to be changes, and the things that were proposed and presented by visionaries years ago that were groundbreaking and beneficial then may no longer be applicable. There needs to be a renaissance of thinking in how we live our lives, how we pursue our purpose, and how we evolve and understand who we are and our place in this process. And I'm coming to this bottleneck where I don't know where else to take this, but it is absolutely 100% necessary for anyone with vision of an understanding or a system of engaging in this reality to put it out there. And there's no right or wrong. There's only relativity. So as out of place as you may feel your perspective is, if you see a way, and I do, I have a way, I have my way of living this life that makes it a better experience. And there's still ups and downs, but it's with how you deal with those things. It's how you address those cycles. It's how you prepare and how you proceed through life that gives you the ability to have a better experience. And I think my way will help a lot of people, but it's not going to help everyone, because it's not a one-size-fits-all universe. There's too many factors, too many variables at play all simultaneously, that there has to be multiple perspectives, and there has to be multiple visionaries capable of identifying and expressing that vision for any particular sequence of philosophy or belief. And then there needs to be the flexibility of humanity to identify a relative truth in one of those philosophies, to be able to find a personal or inner peace, to be able to navigate this experience and really embrace and enjoy it for everything that it could be, the ups and the downs. And I know that it's hard. I struggle with those highs and those lows myself. But I wouldn't change that. That's what adds the details and the beauty to this existence. So I don't know what else I can say. I don't know if this will ever go anywhere. It was just as much an exercise of vocalizing it and putting it out there, speaking it out loud, as it was documenting for potential viewing or inspiration later on. So it's served its purpose to one extent as of right now, but my advice: have faith in yourself, understand your worth, validate your vision, and share it.